welcome to VoiceCon Video. I'm Eric Krapf, Program Co-Chairman of VoiceCon, here with my co-chairperson, Fred Knight. And we're here to talk about VoiceCon Amsterdam, which is our newest introduction of a VoiceCon event. And Fred, you were just over there. Tell us a little more, when does VoiceCon Amsterdam happen? And
Well, VoiceCon Amsterdam will run the 14th to the 16th of October, and it'll be at the RAI, which is the main convention facility in Amsterdam. You haven't been to Amsterdam yet, you're in for a treat. It is a beautiful city. It's got remarkable architecture. The nightlife in Amsterdam is extraordinary, and in fact, the daytime life isn't too bad either. We're thrilled, of course, to be launching VoiceCon in Europe and to have Amsterdam as the venue. Europe today accounts for, depending on whose numbers you use, anywhere from 35 to 40% of the global market for IP telephony. And in the same way that unified communications is beginning to gather momentum here in the States, the same thing is happening in Europe.
Now, when you were over there, one of our key contacts and people that has helped us out a lot over there is Bob Emerson, who's based there in the Amsterdam area, and he's also written some articles for us for No Jitter. Can you talk a little bit about what Bob's role has been so far?
Well, Bob is one of several people, but he's, as you mentioned, he's located in Amsterdam. We have relationships with a number of freelance writers, journalists, people who have been covering the enterprise communications marketplace for some time. And Bob and his colleagues are providing us with insight into the program. What should we retain from the VoiceCon program in the States, and what changes should be made to be more reflective of what the concerns are of the European enterprise buyer. And in addition, we're relying on them for assistance in helping us identify speakers. We're in the process of fleshing out the Amsterdam program. We have one keynote speaker already secured, Johan Krebers, the group IT architect for a Royal Dutch Shell headquartered in The Hague. Mr. Krebers is one of the early adopters of a really different kind of approach to IP telephony and unified communications. He is involved in rolling out, in a multi-year effort to roll out Microsoft OCS platform to Shell worldwide, and he'll be describing how that process is going, what the decision factors were in having them go that route, what have been the obstacles that they had to overcome, and what have been the successes and lessons learned to date.
Now, one of the areas, and I mentioned Bob specifically because he did just post a feature on nojitter.com looking at mobile UC, and particularly how mobile unified communications is a bit further along in Europe than it might be here in North America, and that owing largely to the fact that the infrastructure that would support fixed mobile convergence and mobile UC is a little better developed in Europe. So there'll be a bit more emphasis on mobility maybe in Amsterdam.
Well, you're absolutely right. VoiceCon in Amsterdam will really be a terrific time for an exchange. Europe is, without a doubt, further ahead in its adoption and incorporation of mobility into all aspects of life, enterprise, personal use, whatever. And so the applications, there's a broader array of applications. There's more openness to using mobility in new ways. On the other hand, the U.S. Has been leading in the fundamental migration from TDM to IP telephony and now to unified communications. And so I think there'll be some exchange where there are some things that some countries will be able to give to others based upon how far along they are in the migration.
And I know we've talked about the different geographies of Europe and where we're trying to draw from, and I think we're certainly expecting maybe not all of Europe, but a good portion of Europe we're hoping will be.
One of the advantages of Amsterdam is that it is recognized as an ideal place for a pan-European event. The very first registrant that signed up for VoiceCon in Amsterdam was from Russia. So for my trip over there and just from the conversations we've been having, I'm hopeful that there will be a strong representation from the Eastern European as well as the Northern and Western European enterprise communications community.
For people who may not be at all familiar with the VoiceCon brand, you mentioned we've been doing this show for 18, 19 years here in the States, and it started out as a PBX show. Maybe we should just explain a little more of who our audience has been here in the States historically, and if, to the extent we expect the same or different audience in Europe.
It's a good point. VoiceCon grew up initially as a voice and PBX oriented event, beginning in the late 90s as the conversation started to shift towards IP telephony. We quickly jumped on that and incorporated that into our program. Our focus is the enterprise communications and IT leadership. And we have successfully provided them a program here in the States over the years that has met their needs to understand both the short-term and the longer-term options that they have for migrating their communications networks and communications services. With unified communications, over the past couple of years, VoiceCon here in the States has incorporated much more content related to applications development, and how to integrate those applications with more mainstream business processes. I'm hopeful that we will attract the same kind of person, the same, if you will, demographic to VoiceCon in Amsterdam. The fundamental thing is that they have some professional IT and communications personnel, and that it's worth their while, therefore, for them to invest in coming to an event like VoiceCon.
Mm-hmm. And the structure of VoiceCon Amsterdam is going to be, we'll begin with some tutorials where we provide a half day of very intensive, mostly technology instruction for our attendees to really have a deep dive into a number of different technologies. We've got some on sort of basics of IP telephony, SIP, many of the things that we cover here. And then starting on Tuesday afternoon, the 14th, we'll go into our conference program, open up with some keynotes, and then go to breakouts and keynote sessions for the remainder of the week.
And of course, we're also extremely proud, and we're feeling very good about the reaction from the exhibitors. We have already signed up a number of major vendors, and if you go to voicecon.eu, you can keep track both of who is signed up, who's exhibiting, and of course, as we fill in the speaker roster, you'll be able to find out who the speakers are. But our goal is to become the place where the enterprise community buyer and seller come together. And we've achieved that here in the U.S., and we are hopeful that, and we're going to work as hard as we can to achieve that over a period of time in Europe.
We thank you for watching, and thanks, Fred, and we'll see you in Amsterdam.
See you in Amsterdam.